Hey, what's up everybody? The Cabinet Vision guy here, and today we're going to be making a kind of fun little custom report. As you can see here, I have a sample of the report that we're going to be creating. So let me zoom in, and you can see this is going to breaking it out by the material, and then this one width, one length, and then the parts. Now this is very specifically a adjustable shelf part list, but we can apply the same principles that we're going to learn in this video to any part really, but this is just specifically made for adjustable shelves. You can see where I'm getting this from is I have a series of cabinets here. I've got different cabinets with some edge banding. You'll notice this one has edge banding here, this one is here, and I'm not be able to see it very well. Let me see if I can explode it out a little bit more. But here and here, this one has edge banding all the way around. That's actually not, dados, but and then this one just has it here in front. So we've got in this cabinet two with just in the front, one that has two front and back, and then sides. And these two cabinets right here, number 2 and 3, are pretty much the same. They just have edge banding up front. And number 4, however, has edge banding just on the right side here. So when I look at this in my reports, let's go to my testing, you can see that I have all of that there. So 4 of the adjustable shelves have edge banding along the width, one of them has it along one length, one of them has it along 2 widths, and then one of them has it 2 lengths and 2 widths, so all the way around. Let's go ahead and see how I did that. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the Setup Reports button, and that'll bring us to our list of reports. You can see I've got a bunch of reports here. The adjustable shelf one that I just made and showed you is actually what is here in the list. What we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new report from this. We're going to start from the absolute scratch. And kind of, because I don't like to start from scratch, I actually have templates that I use. And in this case, I have a standard template. Then when I click on report properties, you can see it imports certain data, and if I design the report itself, it's got a bunch of user variables that I can use for object placement. So this is where I like to start with, something like this. I'll probably post up either this template or a video about how to make a template. It's pretty simple. So, but until then, just know that this is how I would start. And I will click Copy Report, and I will call this my Adjustable Shelf Report, and give it a name. Adjustable Shelf Report that groups by material, then by banding. Shows cabinet quantity. All right, we'll hit OK. And now a copy of the report has been made and brought to the bottom of the list. We're going to go into report properties now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a link here in the imports that will filter out all of my normal parts to adjustable shelves. So I'm going to click Add Data Source, Add Data from another source. And instead of importing, I'm going to go link, and I'm going to call this PartList. All right, and it's going to be select star from parts, and that's fine for right now. So I'll just click OK. All right, you can see I now have the full part list. What we want to do is we want to have, for this report example, adjustable shelves only. So what we'll do, we'll scroll over until we find the description column, and we'll find an adjustable shelf. And you can see I have one here, so I'm going to click on this row to highlight the whole thing, so I can then scroll all the way back down. And notice, though, that the one down here is also an adjustable shelf. That'll come in handy for us to know in a moment. So to filter out by parts, we want to use the part ID. You can see that both of these rows, remember this one right here is an adjustable shelf as well, have the ID of 15. We don't want to use names for the sheer fact that we can rename a part in Cabinet Vision. We can go to the part catalog, or sorry, the part manager, and rename all of the parts. So going by the name is typically a bad idea. The part ID, however, is a fixed number that's not going to change. So we can go to our SQL and we can add a new line and we can say where parts.partID equals 15. Now what we've told it to do is look at the part ID column of the parts table and only use data or records that have an ID value of 15. Now to refresh this so that we can see the changes, I'm going to click on it again on the part list, and I'm going to hit data preview, and you can see we have far fewer records here. It ends right there at the bottom, and you can see they all have a part ID of 15, so I know they're all, oh, I went too far. They're all adjustable shelves. So, but we want to do a little bit more here. We want to, again, we're going to try and make this easy on us because we could have done that in the table. But the easy part that we're going to do is we're going to link the CX material in so that we can get the material name here. That'll save us less linking later on. So we're going to go back to SQL, and how do we link that in? How do we join all that information together, as it's called? Well, we use what's called a join expression. So we go to our from line, and we're going to tell it how CX material joins together with the parts table. To do that, in this instance, we're going to use a inner join. Now I capitalize it so that I can find it more easily and read this SQL a little bit easier later on if I need to, but you don't have to. It's not case sensitive. And from here, we need to tell it what table we're joining in. Now we know we're starting with our parts table. So what table are we going to try and pull data in and join to our parts table? Well, that's going to be the CX material. You can see it here in our list. You can join any data from any table in the report.mdb, but there's no list here, so you'd have to go into your help files or open up the database to take a look at what's available for you to use. But luckily what we're joining in is stuff that's already linked here. So how does it connect? How do the two tables connect together? So that's going to be where we tell the SQL on so that it knows we're about to tell it how they connect. And the two fields that get connected are the CX material .id equals, which is telling us what to look for. We go parts dot material ID. And we encase that in square brackets there because you can see there's a space between material and ID. We did the same thing with part ID here. So right now we have select star from parts inner join CX material on CX material.id equals parts.material ID, where parts.partID equals 15. Now when I click part list, oh, I apparently typed in something wrong. Didn't put a space between the on and CX material.id. So now I click on it, and now it refreshed without any errors. That's why we get to click on it to refresh, so we can see what errors we get as we're working with it. So now I'm going to go to data preview, and you can see I have all of this information, cabinet ID, part ID. If I go all the way to the end, you're going to see I have a bunch of information that includes all of the material data. So we don't want all of this. The reason we got this is because it says select star. So what we have to do is tell it to select parts.star so that everything in the parts table, and then put a comma and say CX material.name. Now I don't like using the word name. As a matter of fact, most database engines don't like using the word name either. So we're going to rename this column from CX material.name to material. Now we don't do that by changing the name here. We say as. And what we're doing is we're giving it an alias. We're telling it that pull the data from the CX material.name, but when I look at it, I want it to say material. When I click the part list again, I can go to the data preview and go all the way to the end. And you can see I have everything here. All of this information comes from parts, and then we have the material column there at the end. And that pretty much does it for this part list. Now, we're going to try and suck this data into the report. And to do that, we click this button here. You can see I hover over it. It says select fields to include in the report. So I'm going to click on that. And then we're going to go to PartList. All right. And we're going to click add. So now it's been added to the report. Now we can select what fields we want. So for mine, I use the material field. So let's find that. This is in alphabetical order. So I can go to material and add that in. Then I need the description of the parts. So we add the description. And then I'm going to add the width and the width string. We'll get to why I want both of those in just a moment. Then I want to go to the length and the length string. Again, for the reason that I want both of these is the exact same reason that I want the width and the width string. Then what I need to do is I need to add the edgeband column. All right, this is going to contain all of our data that will allow us to manipulate the report to do what we need it to do. So we'll add that in, and that should just about do it. I'm pretty sure that's it. So now we're going to go to the grouping tab. We want this to be grouped together. All right, so actually I was incorrect. Let's go to select the stuff here, and let's go actually to part.partID because I'm going to want that. I don't want the actual part ID, but you'll see why I want it in a moment. I go to group, and we're going to group these fields together. Now what we need to do is we need to tell it how we want them grouped. So I'm going to go to my part ID, and it's the only one that I want to change. Everything else I want grouped together. That's perfect for that the way it is. But I don't want the part ID to show up. I want to count all of the parts that are grouped together. So we want to change this from group to count. Now we can go here, we could put up criteria, but we don't need to since we already did that here in our part list. So this is fine. We can go to our sort and we can tell it how we want to sort. So this is extremely important. This is probably the most important tab in this wizard. The reason being is that this tab will allow you to set it up so that everything shows in the data properly, in the proper order, before we get to the report. So I recommend you go into your help files and learn as much as you can about this tab as possible. So for our report, I know I want to sort first by the material, and we're just going to put it there, ascending, so it goes in alphabetical order from A to Z. Then I want to sort by the edge band. Why is that? Well, remember we're grouping by edge band. Since we're grouping by it, we want it to group in the report, we need to sort by that as well. So let's pop that in there. Now we can determine finally, do we want width or length to be sorted? And this sorting that we have here in this, this column, the order in which it exists matters. So we don't want to sort by width string or length string. The reason being is that Microsoft's auto magical sorting that comes for strings means that you can sort a string. It would go 1, 11, 12, 2, 34, 4, so on and so forth. So we would get very odd sorting patterns there. That's why we wanted the width as well as the width string. So I'm going to do, we'll start with length descending. So you can see when I click this button, now it's DESC. And then I'm going to do width descending. So mine's going to sort by length from largest to smallest, and then by width from largest to smallest. And that's fine for what I want for my purposes. If you want it differently, you can actually click on it, remove it, and then do it the opposite way. So again, I'm going to put those back in. And once we have all the items in here, we can actually change the sorting order. From here, we can just click Finish. And you can see now we have a nicely formed set of information here. We have the material, we have the part description, we have all that information, we have the count of part ID. You know what? I don't like that name. So let's go to the SQL tab, and let's go here to as count of part ID, and let's change this to quantity. Again, we're just changing the alias. Okay, you can leave it as count of part ID. That's absolutely fine. It will not negatively impact your report at all. This is literally a preference thing. I like to have it say quantity. When I go back and reselect that, we can see now it says QTY. We are now ready for our report to actually be made. So I'm going to hit close, and it's going to do nothing. Sorry, I thought I'd click new button. So we're going to select our report, or make sure it's selected, and we're going to go to design report. Now you can see this is a blank report. It just has some little information here at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the insert tab and go to report container. This is where we get to pull all of our information from our part list in. So I'm going to drag and drop just a square, doesn't matter the size, and I'm going to hit table. I'm just going to hit OK first, because what I want to do is I want to resize this. And remember, if I go to my project tab, I have all of my user variables for sizing. So you can actually draw yours out, resize it to however you want to get it. But because I have my sizing variables, I'm just going to take a quick moment to resize. And I'll fast forward through this. All right, so now that I have all of that sizing done, I can go ahead and start putting the meat and bones of this. So we can just double click on our container, or we can double click on our part list, and we can just start adding information. First, I want to create the two headers that we have. So I'll go to group header. I will then click on the group by, and I'm going to tell it to group by parts dot, if I could spell, material. Oh, I got that wrong still. So let's click on the formula button, and I can go here, highlight this, and go to fields, part list, and again, it's in alphabetical order, and there we go. Now I got it right. So let's go ahead and, oh, sorry, skipped ahead too fast. We will click the insert or append column button, and we're going to type in the same thing we just had before, parts dot, part list dot material, and we're going to hit OK. All right, you can see here that I have my header there. I'm going to resize this. You can make it whatever size you want, 50, 55, or whatever. Since I have a variable that tells me how wide everything is, I can just tell mine to go to the full width of the container. Now, before we go any further, we don't actually have that cool banding header that I created for the other one. So let's stop here, hit OK. Let's go to our project and user variables, and we can go ahead and set all of that up. So a word of caution, you do have to set up things in this in the proper order. So if you try to make, you'll see we'll have a variable called EBString. If that shows up in this list before anything that's used in EBString, you can get errors in your report generation. It won't always error out, but it can, and that's not something we want, especially if we have a big job and we're trying to figure out what's going on. So we're going to make these in the proper order. The first one we're going to do is we're going to create one called EB length, or edge banding length. It really doesn't matter what the name is. It's up to you what you name the variable, but again, EB length is what I'm going to use. From here, I'm going to edit it, and we're going to use a special function of this, and it's going to be called the regex match. A regex is a regular expression. It's an advanced kind of string searching feature that we can use to find things inside of a string or string of characters. So if I start typing in regex match, okay, I'll hit enter, or you can go to here, go to string functions, and find in this list regex. You can see you have two sets of them if you need. All right, so we're going to say regex match, and we're going to tell it first option that we need is where are we looking to pull this from, and that was PartList.edgeband. All right, now we need to tell it the regular expression string that we're going to find. And I'm going to type it in here and then explain it to you. That's going to be quote, \d, open square bracket, WW, close square bracket, period, question mark, and now you can see nothing showed up. That's because on the sample part that's in here, there's no actual width one. Actually, we're doing length, aren't we? So I actually typed this in incorrectly. So let's change this to lowercase l, capital L. And there you go. You can see in our example I have 1li. All right, so what does this string mean? So I'm not going to go too in-depth on regular expressions because we would be here for the next 10, 12 hours at least. But what I'm telling it to do in this one is I'm telling it to look for a number. That number could be anything, but it's going to be a single number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Those are the numbers it's going to look for. Then I have this square bracket, and it's a series of characters that I want to look for. I have lowercase l and capital L. Because Cabinet Vision's only going to use capital L, I could just type in L, and it will find it. But that's not what I want. I want it to, just in case, I want it to look for lowercase l and capital L. So that'll be a single character that fits of all the characters that are inside of that bracket. And then finally, I want it to look for any character right after that. So that could be I for interior banding, E for exterior banding. Or if you created a Z banding, it would come up as Z. So really, we just want to look for this string, okay? And now we've kind of extracted it out of the edgeband partlist.edgeband column. So we're good with that. So we're going to click OK, and you can see it says expression is correct. And we're going to make the exact same one, but this one EB width. All right. So we can just copy this and paste it in here and change these L's to W's. All right. And now you can see we have that. That's done. So now what we need to do is we need to build a string off of these that we can actually use in our report. So I'm going to click the new variable. I'm going to call this EB length string. You saw when I had it of the same name, it says, nope, you already have one of that name. You have to create a new one. So we're going to call this string. Going to hit OK. And we're once again we're going to edit this. And we're going to use our regex match again. And we're going to this time look for our EB length. And this time we just want the number. Okay? So that's the easiest way to guarantee I'm getting the correct number. There are other ways to do it, but we can do it this way as well. So, and then we're going to go plus dash space length. So now this is the string that's going to be created for the length. And that's perfectly fine where it is there. We'll hit OK. And then we're going to hit another new one. We're going to say EB width string. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to copy. And then we're going to paste. We're going to change this to width. And change this to EB width. We can edit this. And you can see it's blank. It's not giving us a result. Well, that's because we don't have an EB width. Nothing returns from EB width, which is perfectly fine. That's actually really good for what we want for our purposes. So we're going to hit OK. And finally, we're going to build EB string together. So we're going to click on New. We're going to call this EB string. Again, whatever you want to call it is fine. And we're going to hit OK. Then we're going to edit this and say, first we need to see if we're getting stuff back. So determine whether you want to put the length or width first. It's up to you. But we'll go to condition and we'll say edit is null. We want to see whether the value we're getting is null. We'll say at EB length string. Okay. If that's null, so we'll hit OK. What happens if it is null? We want it to return an empty value. If it's null, it'll give us an error by not filling out anything. But if we give it an empty value, which is just 2 single quotes, if you look, 1 single quote, 1 single quote, or 2 double quotes, whatever you want to do. Then what happens if it's false? What if EB length is not null? We will say at EB length string. So we'll go ahead and click the insert button. You can see now it's come up that we have what we need. Okay? Then we're going to add a space. The reason we want that is we don't want the words and everything to jumble together. Then we're just kind of change this just a little bit. We're going to change the length to width in both spots. Now watch what happens when I insert it. All right, so it didn't change anything here at the bottom. All right, that's because EB width string for the sample part that's being pulled into or the sample record, I should say, that's being pulled in is null. It doesn't have a width string, so that's fine. We're just going to hit OK, and now we know that when we go back to our part list and our group header, we can start grouping again. We can add a new group. I'll right-click on line definition and append new table line. I'll just hit OK. And this one, I'm going to group by PartList.edgeband. Now, you'd think that would be enough, but it's actually not, because we need it to also change whenever the material changes. So then we go plus PartList.material. Why that is, I don't want to go into that to extend this video any longer than it already is, but you do need to do that. So we'll just hit OK, and now we'll append a new text column, and we'll use our @EB string. And you can see I have the length. I'm also going to adjust this so it's the size of my container. And there we go. Now I can go to the data line. I can start adding things in. I'm going to add the PartList.quantity. I'm going to add the PartList.description. I'm going to add the PartList.width string. I'm going to add just a simple X. I'm then going to add the PartList.length string. And you can reverse those. It's really up to you. It doesn't matter. And that's that. I'm going to adjust some sizes here. I'm going to make this 10 millimeters wide. You know what? Let's make it 5. So I can see as I'm adjusting it how that works. I'm going to give it an alignment of centered. Those are good. You know what? Let's right adjust that. Description. Let's make this a little bit wider so it doesn't bore it down there. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's make it 12. Yeah. And let's give it a format so that I don't have any decimal places, because I don't need a half part there. Oh, and let's center that. Okay, so you can see it's getting pretty good there. So if I save this, close this, and then view it, there we go. We're just missing the cabinet quantity field. I'm not going to go too in depth on how that works. I will, however, show you what you would need for this specific report to work. If you change your grouping or anything like that, just let me know and I'll try my best to help you out with creating one that works for you. So we'll go to setup mode, report properties, and we're going to go here. We're going to go to select. We're going to select the part list. We're going to go to cabinet quantity, select count parts.partID as quantity, and then we're going to go parts.cabinetID as cabinet. It's very important that you leave the QTY and cabinet aliases exactly where they are. Just very important, otherwise you're going to get tons of errors, trust me. Then we're going to group by, sorry, actually we're going to tell it where to pull from part list. Group by. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to go here to our part list and we're going to grab this group by right there. And we're just going to insert it right here. So let's go to the end and let's take that off and hit Control V. And then we're going to tell it. So right now it's creating all of the stuff we need, but we need to figure out a way to link it to each individual record. And we do that by using what's called the having clause. So we're going to type in not having, and we're going to tell it what fields we need to link together. So we're going to say material equals, we're going to go open single quote, open curly brace, material, close curly brace, single quote. So what we're doing is we're going to tell Cabinet Vision to alter this to pull the material from this part list into here so that they can try and link the two together. That's how that works. So now we need and, so we can include more havings. And I'm just going to go through and say description equals description. And I'm going to follow the same format with every single one of these. And let's see, width string equals width string and length string also will equal length string. And finally, we're going to make sure that the edge band is done so that it doesn't try and group stuff with different edge banding together. So we'll go edge band equals edge band. Now, I'll be honest, I just typed this up just from scratch. So I don't know if this will actually work, and we'll find out in a second if it does by clicking close, and then, oh, it didn't work. So there's an exact problem. We use the group by from our parts list. Okay, and it says here that you tried to execute a query that does not include the specified expression cabinet as part of the aggregate function. What does that mean? That's a lot of confusion right there. It really can be. But we're just going to hit continue and hit OK, and then we're going to close this, and we're going to go back to our report properties. And the reason it did that is because if I go here and I told it to select, if we go back home, you can see parts.cabinetid. Well, I didn't include that in my grouping. So that's not good. That's not what an SQL statement wants. So we're just going to go to our group by clause. And it doesn't matter anywhere in this group by clause we can add it, but we're going to say cabinet ID. All right. So now that should work. And it did. I know it worked because it didn't give me any errors. So now you'll see if I go to part list, you see now all of a sudden I have a cabinet quantity list. So let's kind of add that in here and at the end. And hit OK, hit OK again, and we'll close this and view it, and that's how we build that report. Oh, sometimes you have to reload it twice, but there you go. So now I know that I have 4 adjustable shelves. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are all the same and everything works out. And that's how you would create a report like this. If you need to, go through and rewatch this, pause it where you need to, take some notes. And of course, ask questions. If you need help with anything, I do my best to try and help you as much as I can with any of this stuff. So this is something that you can kind of do to really add up different types of shelves and different edge banding and group by that stuff for a shop. Just a side note, if I go to design report, I don't have to leave this at EB string. I could actually put here edge banding. Okay. Now this is all null, so if I get something that doesn't have any edge banding on it, as a matter of fact, let's see what happens if I do that. So I have edge banding. So now you can see it says that. Let's see what happens if I put in a cabinet that has an adjustable shelf. Let's edit, and we'll go to edge banding, set edge banding none, and save. So we have an invalid use of null. So that came up, and the reason that came up is because we tried to do a having and it has a null value. I'm not going to extend this video any longer. I will correct that cabinet SQL and post it in the eSupport topic. Well, actually, I'll post it in the comments of this YouTube video so that it's there for everyone to find right away in this video. So, if you're not watching this on YouTube, watch it on YouTube or move to YouTube so you can actually see this and get that comment. All right. Thanks very much. I hope this is helpful. Again, ask any questions. I don't answer questions on YouTube. I won't answer questions like this on Facebook, Google Plus, any of that stuff. You have to go to our eSupport website for those questions to get answered. All right. Thank you very much and have a nice day.